If you're earning money online and you're still paying high taxes to a country you barely even live in, this video is going to change the way you see your finances. I'm going to walk you through the Paraguay Residency, what it is, for who it is, and how much it costs, the entire process from A to Z so you can figure out if it's a good fit for you or not. And I did this myself. I'm not a tax consultant, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a real digital nomad who went through the process from A to Z, and now I officially have my Paraguayan residency. When I did my residency, I didn't know anyone who had it. No friends, no contacts, it was just me, my computer. I figured out that the system existed. I had to talk to the right people and the wrong people. I had to travel there. I paid for the knowledge. I went through everything, and the goal of this video today is for you to not go through the whole learning process that I went through, so that you have one video that explains it all from someone who did it from scratch. So let's get into it. Why Paraguay? Out of literally every country in the world, why are digital nomads increasingly choosing the country of Paraguay? This quite small country in the center of South America, not surrounded by the sea, with no specific cultural famous events, and unknown to most of the human population. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I talk to people about Paraguay, they are a bit confused. They don't really know where it is. So there are three main reasons, and I'm going to walk you through all of them. Number one, of course, is the tax system. Paraguay actually runs on a territorial tax system, meaning that you only get taxed on the income that is generated in the country, in Paraguay. So only the income earned inside Paraguay is taxed. If you're earning from outside Paraguay, that counts as foreign income, and therefore is taxed as 0%. So example, for you as a digital nomad, you're working online and you're invoicing from foreign clients, that income is not taxed in Paraguay. And I want to be very clear about this because a lot of people are skeptical. This is not a loophole. It's 100% legal. It's literally how the Paraguayan tax code is written. And Paraguay, by the way, is not the only country that has a territorial tax system. Many other countries use it, including Singapore, Hong Kong, Costa Rica, under some conditions. So if Paraguay is not the only country with a territorial tax system, why does Paraguay stay as a top #1 destination for digital nomads? Well, this brings us to reason number 2, which is no minimum stay. Now, little correction, it's not zero minimum stay. It's not like you can be a resident of Paraguay, be taxed at 0%, and just never go there. You just have to go there one day in a year. Please. So your biggest issue here is planning a South American trip once a year. Once a year, unfortunately, you will have to fly to Paraguay. Oh no, what a problem. I think it's kind of a cool problem to have. So if we look at other tax havens like Cyprus in Europe or Dubai, which are famous for lower taxes, there is no minimal stay, because in Cyprus, you have to live there for 2 months in a year, and you have to have a rental agreement, and there's a lot of different things you have to pay. In Dubai, you also have to stay minimum 3 months a year. So Paraguay obviously wins here. Almost no minimal stay, only 1 day a year to maintain your fiscal residency, plus a territorial tax system. Isn't that amazing? Now, reason number 3, it's the cost and the speed of obtaining your residency in Paraguay. Paraguay is one of the most affordable and fastest residency process that exists in the world right now for foreigners. If you work with the right people, the process can go as fast as 30 to 45 days. Although, to be very honest, it's pretty rare. I had to wait around 3 months to have my final cédula, which is your residency. But even 40 days or 2 months, 3 months, 4 months is still nothing to other programs, which typically take 6 to 12 months and cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, let's talk about who this is actually for. Who would it actually make sense for? Because to be honest, it is for a lot of digital nomads, but it's not for everyone. So the Paraguayan residency is definitely for you if you're earning money online as a contractor, if you're in high-ticket sales, if you're a freelancer, if you have an agency, if you have an online business, whatever you are doing online that is generating you money with the contractor status, as an independent person, you are qualified to establish your residency in Paraguay. And obviously, if that online income comes from outside of Paraguay. If it comes from Paraguay, you're going to pay taxes, but it's nothing compared to European taxes, for example. The tax rate in Paraguay is 10%. So even if you work online and your clients are all in Paraguay, which is pretty rare, you'd still pay only 10% tax. The Paraguay residency is also for you if you want to reduce your tax burden without having to move to one country full-time. You know, there's a lot of countries that have pretty low taxes, for example, Malta for foreigners, but you have to live there 183 days a year. Not everyone wants to completely shift their lifestyle and move to another country for their taxes, right? I talk about this a lot, but choosing your taxes and tax system is not only about paying less money, it's also about enjoying your lifestyle, where do you enjoy to live, how do you like to live, and then secondly, choosing which country corresponds to those criteria, plus has a favorable tax system. And this setup is also for you if you're serious about structuring your finances, not only hoping that nobody finds out that you're actually not paying taxes or that you are sneakily not declaring everything you're earning. Now, this setup is for you, most importantly, if you don't spend more than 6 months in any country. This is something that is not often said, but if you are working online, you are earning a lot of nice money, you are having clients from different places in the world, but you like living in one place and you still want to stay there, I'm very sorry to say, but Paraguay is not for you. Why? Because by staying more than 6 months in the country, that country will claim you as a fiscal resident. I can be a Paraguayan resident, fiscal resident there, but if I actually spend more than 6 months in Spain, which is one of my favorite countries in the world, well, Spain will probably claim me as a fiscal resident there, and I will have to be paying Spanish taxes. So this setup doesn't make sense if you're going to spend more than 6 months in the country. It does make sense for you though if you spend maybe 3 months, then 3 months, then 4 months somewhere, and you spend your year in different places. So if you're true digital nomad, changing locations and not staying in one place more than 6 months a year, if you're serious about structuring your financial life legally, and if you're earning online from foreign clients, then yes, this setup is for you. Now, who is this not for? If you are an employee, if you're working in the country and your employer is employing you as an employee and paying your taxes and social security on your behalf, this is going to be a bit difficult because the whole goal of having Paraguayan residency is declaring your income. And if you're an employee somewhere, well, I'm sorry, but the employee has to be subject to the rules of their employer. So you cannot really change that unless your employer has a company in Paraguay where they could employ you from. This is also probably not for you if you want to do this without a specialist. Why? I'm not saying that it's impossible to do your fiscal residency in Paraguay by yourself as a foreigner, but it's going to be very hard. It actually costs pretty much the same amount to do it by yourself than with a specialist. I've met a lot of people there that came to Paraguay to do their fiscal residency, and honestly, it is a lot of work, especially in a country like Paraguay. It can be sometimes a bit corrupt, a bit chaotic. You have a lot of people you have to talk to, a lot of lines, and if you don't know the right people personally, it can take months and months and months and months. So it is possible, definitely you can give it a try, but as a foreigner, especially if you don't speak Spanish, you don't know how the country works, and you don't know the right people, it can be very confusing and still almost as costly. And obviously, this is not for you if you're not earning consistently online. First, figure out your online income and then think about the structure. Thinking about a financial structure only makes sense if you're earning money. Obviously, it's good and exciting to prepare yourself for the future, but why would you invest so much time and money in a setup where you're not actually going to take advantage from it? Now, let's talk about what documents you need. Before you even book your flight to Paraguay, this is extremely important, you have to prepare some documents. It is impossible to just fly to Paraguay and figure out everything there, because you cannot do your residency without specific documents, which you can only obtain in your current country of residence. And this is where a lot of people lose weeks and a lot of money on plane tickets and stays and overall spending, because they don't know what's needed ahead of time. Number one thing that you need is your passport. Your passport has to be valid for at least 6 months. Number two is a birth certificate. It's not only a picture of a birth certificate, it has to be apostilled, so originally certified for international use, and get that done by your home country before you travel. So passport, birth certificate, apostille, and a background check. You also need to apostille your national background check by your home country. So quick check, you need a passport that's valid for at least 6 months, you need a birth certificate that's apostilled from your home country, and a national background criminal check that's also apostilled. And lastly, just some passport photos. This is not a big deal. You can take pictures of yourself pretty much everywhere in the world, in a mall or at a photographer, but you'll need a picture of your face. It has some requirements, but your specialist will definitely guide you with that. Now, I know a lot of people who planned their trip to Paraguay and didn't get their documents on time. That can be very frustrating. Myself, I have waited until I had all my documents until I actually booked my tickets, because to get your documents apostilled, to request them from your home country, especially if you're living abroad, can be very complicated. Some countries don't want to ship it by the post. You actually have to go in person to your home country to collect them and collect the apostilled documents, and that can take weeks. So I would definitely recommend you to first get all of these documents in order. or start the process now and book your flights for, let's say, 2 to 3 months from now. So extremely important. First, prepare all your documents and then book your trip. Because if you don't have your documents, your trip is literally not going to serve you for anything. Now, what is the process step by step? Once you have all your documents apostilled and you have your tickets booked, you're going to arrive to the capital. Step 1 is actually arriving to the capital, to Asunción. I would plan at least 5 days in the capital, if not 7, just so you have enough time in case anything happens. With a good specialist, everything can be done within 3 to 4 days. But I would always be safe, and also, why not enjoy being in Asunción and visit the city, which is actually pretty cool, while you're there. Step 2, once you're in Asunción, is to go to all the appropriate government offices. I'm not going to explain in detail exactly where you have to go for what documents, because this is done with a specialist and they will take care of that. But I will summarize the places where you will be taken to do your residency. You'll typically start with the National Police and Interpol Paraguay to obtain the necessary background certificates. Then you will go to the National Directorate of Migration to submit your residency application. After that, you have to go to the Policía Nacional once you submitted your residency. And this is typically done by someone else if you're not going to be in Paraguay. You can sign a procuration, which means that you will be giving someone else the right, typically your specialist, to go and pick up your residency for you, because that is done whenever your residency is approved, and it is to pick up your actual ID. And your ID, by the way, is called your cédula. Your cédula allows you to then obtain a RUC, which is basically your tax number. And that is when you can officially become a tax resident of Paraguay. So it's not that easy, and this is why I do recommend to work with a specialist, a company that specializes in this. I would have never been able to do this as fast by myself, and all the time I would have invested in figuring all this out would definitely be more worthwhile focusing on other things. So step 3, after visiting all of these offices, you will get your temporary residency. It's called Carnet de Erradicación Temporal. So it gives you the right of being a temporary resident. And only once you have that, then you can apply for your cédula. Your cédula is your ID, your Paraguayan ID. And the cédula is extremely important because it proves your residency for the longer term. And it falls shortly after your temporary residency. And voila, once you have your cédula, you're officially a resident of Paraguay. Congratulations. Now, it's not sufficient to only be a resident. Let me be clear on that. Because if you're a resident, that's cool, but you're still not a fiscal resident. So fiscally, you're still in the old country where you were before. That is when the RUC comes in handy. A RUC is a tax number that allows you to then become a tax resident and declare your income in Paraguay. So make sure that if you're actually doing Paraguayan residency for taxes, apply for the RUC, which is not always offered, but it is necessary. And then you get an accountant to officially declare income in Paraguay. Obviously, you will declare mostly zero if it's foreign sourced income, but I would recommend to always declare some money, because it always looks bad if you're declaring zero. It's like you're using the system and you're not giving anything back. So even if your income is 100% foreign, it's always good to pay yourself, let's say $300, $400, $500 per month just to declare something. At the end, you will be only taxed, 10%? So it's completely worth it. And this is a way to always have, let's say, a better regard in the eyes of the authorities if perhaps in the future you want to convert to permanent residency. Because your temporary residency is given, right? You have your cédula, you have your RUC, you're living in Paraguay fiscally, and you only have to visit 1 day a year to maintain it. Amazing. But if you want to go further, after 2 years, during the final 3 months of those 2 years of temporary residency, you can actually apply for permanent residency, which is very, very beneficial if you are looking towards getting the Paraguayan passport at some point. If you want to invest in the Mercosur region at some point, which is the alliance of South American countries. If you want all of these benefits, I would very highly recommend you to do everything legally, declare some income, so that when you actually have to go through the process of being a permanent resident of Paraguay and eventually, potentially getting citizenship, which does require additional tests, and it's not that easy, it will facilitate the process for you if they see that you have some economic ties and moving money in Paraguay instead of just a 0,00000 statement. And once you are a permanent resident of Paraguay, guess what? It's not only 1 day of the year that you have to visit the country. It's 1 day every 3 years. Every 36 months, you gotta visit Paraguay. So the rules become less strict when you become a permanent resident. And so to give you a bigger outlook of what's possible once you become a Paraguayan resident, You become a resident temporarily, a temporary resident for 2 years. That is the minimum before applying for the permanent residency. So after 2 years of being a temporary resident, you can apply for the permanent residence. After converting to a permanent residence, you have to stay 3 years as a permanent resident before having the ability to apply for a Paraguayan passport, for the citizenship of Paraguay. This can be extremely useful to have an extra passport. And as we know, having an extra passport is always beneficial. However, if you want that extra passport, it will take you 5 years from the day you obtain your temporary Paraguayan residency. Although there are some shortcuts to that by investments to shortcut the way to permanent residency and then obviously to citizenship. I invite you to do your research. But technically speaking, if you're a digital nomad doing the normal route with no investment visa, it will take you 5 years to get the passport if you do want it. So now let's talk about the most spicy part that everyone wants to know: money. How much does it cost to become a Paraguayan resident? Well, to be very upfront with you, it depends on how you do it, with who you do it with, and the quality of the services. And also if it is a premium service or not. Premium meaning that they drive you from the airport to your hotel, they drive you to the office, they take extra care of you, which is perfect if you want comfort and efficiency. First of all, there are always the government fees. This is paid to the Paraguayan government, and that's extra from the apostilles you might get from your country. I paid for my apostilles around 25 euros each for each document, maybe around 50 euros in total for those apostille documents, plus the government fee was included in my specialist fee, so I didn't pay it myself, but this is typically what goes to the government, excluding what you would pay the person who's organizing everything for you. So you have the government fees and the specialist fees. Obviously, if you're doing it with someone, you will pay them a margin for their work. All the fees that you will pay will encompass many things. You're paying for a lot. You're paying for the convenience, for the translations, for the preparations, for the transportations between the offices, for someone accompanying you, telling you exactly what to do, when to do it, at what time and what day, document verification, handling the bureaucracy, and in some cases, again, getting your actual residency and your cédula for you, because you have to collect it in person if you don't have a procuration. So all of these steps can be very messy and very confusing. If you already have a business running on the side, if you have work, you don't want to figure all of that by yourself, which is why I recommend just working with a specialist. And so for all of these fees in total, you can find as cheap as $700 if you're looking for the more low-end kind of things. And again, I wouldn't trust that much the person doing it for this fee because it's very, very low. But for the, let's say, more premium, convenient packages where your transport is to places, you're told exactly what to do, and everything is handled for you, super fast, super efficient, you'd be looking to pay around $2,000 to $3,000. That would be the typical fee that you would pay for getting everything handled for you. And that is in a super professional, speedy, and efficient way. Now, obviously, it's not only the residency that costs. You have to talk about hotels, flights, and everything that will cost you once you're in Asunción. So to fly to Asunción is pretty expensive. From Europe, you'd pay around $1,000. When I flew to Paraguay, I did a special route. It cost me around $1,200 because I did Madrid, Dominican Republic, and then Paraguay through Panama. But generally speaking, from Europe, you'd be paying close to 1,000 euros to fly to Paraguay both ways. Unless you find really good prices, really good tickets, which do exist, then you would pay around maybe 800, 900 on the lower end. Now, accommodation in Asunción. I loved my time in Asunción. It was so good. I paid less than 300 euros for a week in an amazing Airbnb close to the main street because there's one big avenue with all the shopping centers, which is where all the foreigners typically stay, near Shopping del Sol. I was there in that building, had a big studio to myself in the building with security, a gym, a rooftop, outside pool. It was clean, it was beautiful, and it was so convenient. So for pretty much 200, 300 euros, if you go in the right time, you can find really good accommodation. So the accommodation there will not cost you a lot. There's plenty of options. They're building like crazy. So many developers are building new towers, new apartment complexes, and a lot of people are investing there. So I'm sure you will find a great deal. Just make sure that you stay close to the shopping centers. That is where it's the most convenient, the safest. Don't go and get lost in the center. The center can be quite dangerous if you're alone as a foreigner. And then for restaurants, food over there, oh my god, if you like meat, you're gonna love it. Paraguay has the best local grass-fed beef and meat, and you will love it. You can pay around 20 euros for a top churrasqueria, which is let's say, a meat restaurant where you have fresh meat, people coming with pieces of meat and giving you on your plate whenever you want to in an unlimited way, you will love Paraguay if you love meat, and it's quite cheap to eat. If you go to a cafe, a coffee might cost you maybe 1.50, €2 max. Food you can eat below 15 euros. I mean, these are South American prices, so food will not be a huge expense. I would maybe count 10-15 euros per meal if you want to eat, you know, in a nice place. And I would also take advantage of being in Paraguay to eat the best meat in the world, which will not cost you that much. It will cost you, again, maybe 20-25 euros at max for a good place. So in total, if you want to budget for costs, if you want to go with a great service with a reputable company that takes care of absolutely everything, so you can be as efficient as possible, I would count around $3,000. For your flights, I would count around $1,000. And then during your stay, your accommodation, your food, you would maybe spend around $800. Obviously, it can range for your whole Paraguayan setup. But even $4,000, $5,000 even is nothing compared to other processes that you might do in other countries. Right? To become a resident, to go there, fly there, eat there, and have everything taken care of for you, it's a pretty good deal. So you pay all of that once, and then you are set. You are set for paying 0% tax on foreign income, potentially forever, unless you decide to settle somewhere outside of Paraguay. Now, once you have everything set up and you got your cédula, you got your RUC, and you're ready to declare in Paraguay as an official fiscal resident, congratulations. There are obviously some extra costs, but nothing crazy. Obviously, you need to pay the people who will be doing the accounting for you, declaring your income, and taking care of all the legal stuff. If you want a proof of address in Paraguay, which will be required by your banks if you decide to officially change your fiscal residency, which you should, it would cost around $400 per year. If you want an accounting service, it depends on the accountants, but it's typically between $30 and $50 per month. Again, nothing crazy. And if you want some other services, then obviously you're going to pay a little bit more. But typically, to maintain your residency in Paraguay, it will cost you less than $1,000 per year. I mean, this is way better than paying those 40% in Europe. I'm not going to complain paying $1,000 per year to maintain a residency that allows me to pay close to 0% in tax. So I also want to talk about finding the right person. I talk to a lot of people before going to Paraguay, and beware, because there's a lot of people that claim they can help you but don't have any idea. They just want your money. You want to make sure that you're also working with someone who has experience helping foreigners become a resident in Paraguay, not a normal accountant in Paraguay that is not used to the foreign documents and residency process. This is also a big point. I finally found an amazing team after almost a year of searching, of talking to so many different agencies, people, paying money, and just figuring it out, losing a lot of time. I want to help you as well. So if you are currently in a position where you're considering tax residency in Paraguay or simply residency in Paraguay, but you maybe have some struggles, some challenges, some questions, I'm opening a link where you can book a 20-minute call with me, absolutely for free. In the call, we'll talk through if it actually makes sense for you to establish tax residency in Paraguay, and if it does, I'll connect you directly with the team that helped me establish my tax residency in Paraguay. A trusted, amazing, beautiful team that will make everything easier for you. So if you want more clarity and skip all the part where you have to figure out who to trust, book a call. It's completely for free, and I'll be very happy to help you out. So to conclude, Paraguay is one of the most affordable, accessible, and legitimate fiscal residency options out there for digital nomads. At least right now, you have 0% on foreign income. You have 1 day of minimal stay per year to keep your fiscal residency, which gives you freedom to travel anywhere in the world. It takes only 3 to 4 months to complete the whole process, and there is a clear path to citizenship. If you know of a better option, please let me know. Paraguay is an amazing choice for most digital nomads. Obviously, there's many other structures that exist, but they also depend on your income level. Typically, Paraguay is great if you're earning around $100,000, $150,000 or less. Once you earn more, it makes sense to create a different setup, maybe with holding companies within Dubai, Cyprus, if you like to reside in Europe. Really depends on your lifestyle. But for most digital nomads, Paraguay is amazing. So if you're earning online and you still haven't figured out your fiscal structure and you would like to do so, or you're figuring it out, I strongly recommend watching my other YouTube videos on the topic, but also to download my free fiscal residency guide, which is also in the description. You'll understand the basics of fiscal residency, how it works, including the 2 tests that most countries use, and all the signs that tell you that now is the perfect moment to make a change. And if you are convinced that you are ready to make the step, book a free call with me. I'll connect you with my team, the best team, to process your fiscal residency in Paraguay. I hope you got a ton of value from this video. Make sure to subscribe if you want more honest content on how to build a borderless life. And if you want me to cover a specific topic, feel free to leave a comment with some ideas or some questions. I will answer all of them. I'll see you in the next one.